Hey, welcome back. On my way home, I'm Miss Mandy, and today we are talking about inflation. And if you're like me, living paycheck to paycheck, what exactly it is you can do to help yourself in this time. Because if you haven't noticed, things are expensive, and they're getting more and more expensive every single day. My groceries this week were $300 for our family of 5. And yes, we were out of a lot of things. We bought a lot of replacement items, but it's still things that we use every single day. It's not like we're throwing away food. It's just that things are way more expensive. Our utility bill, I was looking at it and I was thinking, why is this so much more expensive than my last utility bill? And it's not that we used any more utilities. We didn't use any more electricity or a substantial amount more than we did this time last year. It's just that the cost of things has gone up. If you haven't been living under a rock, you know that gas prices are insane as well. It takes $100 for my husband to fill up his tank every single week. It takes me about $60 every single week if I'm driving a lot. And that is a lot of money. So what can you do if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't have a lot of extra in this time where you're going to need a little extra just to survive? So we're going to talk about 3 things that you can do. First is be educated. That is your best defense in any time. You can really mitigate your risk by being educated. What does this even mean, though? What do I mean when I say be educated? Well, you got to know where you are currently. Are you doing well? Do you feel stressed about money all the time? Do you know how to balance your bank account? Do you know where your money is going every single month? You have to know these type of things before you can take any steps to protect what you've got and to even increase what you've got. Also, being educated involves knowing what's going on in the world as a whole. And I'm not talking about the nitty-gritty details. You don't have to be that invested in watching every single move. That's what people like me are here for, right? And I'm not even all that invested on the technicalities of what's going on. You just need to know at a high level what's happening. Like today, we know that inflation is high. That is good enough. That's good enough to know that you have to take some steps in order to protect what's yours. You have to know what it means for you as well, not just what it means for the government, because at the end of the day, you're not coming home to the White House unless you're the president, and in that case, please like my video, Mr. President. But at the end of the day, you have to know what it's like for you as an average Joe consumer, what it means when things happen in the world of finance. You have to know where you're going, and this is a very important one because I've gone without any kind of goal or direction, and it doesn't get you really much of anywhere. You can't really rely on luck to get you places. You have to know where you're going in order to take the steps to get there. And what I'm talking about is know what is your goal in these times of high inflation. Is your goal just to survive? Are you already stressed about money and your goal is just to not be stressed about money anymore, to survive, just to make the ends meet? In that case, that's going to be a completely different tactic than if your goal is to build wealth. And we're going to talk about some things you can do in either situation, so stay tuned for that. And then you got to know what steps to take. My brain works big picture, so I like to see the big picture, and then I can reverse engineer it and decide what steps need to take and just kind of narrow it down and keep doing that, deciding what steps to take next until I have one step in front of me. And that's kind of how I operate best, because I have that big picture goal that keeps me motivated. It gives me purpose and drive. But then if you know how to reverse engineer that big picture, you can ultimately discover what actionable steps to take without being overwhelmed. So that's the first thing you need to do, is be educated. I'm not talking about knowing the terms, just know what's going on. The next thing you can do is to prioritize your cash flow. And this is super important. And there's a couple ways I think that people are misguided about this particular step. We'll go over those as we get to them. First things first, pay yourself first. Now, you can't do this if you're in survival mode. If you're just trying to make ends meet and you already don't have enough, then you're not going to be able to take this yet. You're using all that you've got to go into making ends meet. But if you're in a place where you can start paying yourself first, it is a great habit to get into. And this is because it gives you some money to, one, put toward emergencies if you don't have that already, and two, to invest in either a business or to invest in something else that's going to help your money save value. We're going to talk about that a little more later. Another thing you can do is to stop getting a tax refund, or at least stop getting a big tax refund. If you every year are getting thousands and thousands with an S, thousands of dollars, you're doing something wrong. What is happening is that it's not the government's gift to you at the end of the year. It's that you are overpaying the government their share. Yes, we all have to pay taxes on our income, but you do not have to pay so much that you're getting a huge tax refund. And if it's throwing you into a place where you can't pay your bills, then you definitely need to readjust that. Most of the times, if you have a W-4 job, you can adjust that W-4 at any time during the year and resubmit it to your HR department. So check that out, see what your company's policies are, work with your HR department, work with the IRS even. They have tools to where you can estimate how much you need to be deducted from your form and exactly what to put on that form in order to get less. Usually the more deductions you take, the less they will take out of your paycheck. And I'd say, just as a ballpark for reference, if you're somewhere within the $1,000 to $2,000 range of a refund, depending on what comfort level you have with, surrounding what you're comfortable with getting taken out of your paycheck. But my goal is to never have more than $1,000 in a tax refund at the end of the year. I don't want to lend the government my money for a whole year before they decide to pay me back. And you know what happens if they can't pay me back, right? It is gone forever. I'd rather have that money in my pocket in every single paycheck that I'm making. Next, you can adjust your current loans if possible. We just did a refinance, and it was awesome because we rolled a couple things into it. We ended up saving ourselves $600 of cash flow every month. Yeah, we took out a little bit of the equity in our home since the home prices had gone up, but we saved ourselves a lot of cash flow, and that has helped us out enormously in being able to pay ourselves first, investing in the business that we're starting right now, and to move ourselves forward in our financial situation. Let's see. Did you know that not only mortgages can be refinanced? Did you know that cars can be refinanced? You can consolidate student loans. Right now, debt's still pretty cheap. I know mortgage rates have gone up a little bit since interest rates, basis points are starting to rise on the federal level, but they haven't gone up so much that maybe if you bought your house, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, and you still have the same mortgage. My parents just refinanced their house, and they had bought their house when I was 7, I think, 6 or 7, and they were at a 6% interest rate, and they got half of that interest in their refinance. They were lowered down to a 3% interest rate, which is awesome. It saves them, a lot of money every month and a lot of money in interest over the years that are left in their mortgage. Let's see. Just to touch on student loans, if you're already struggling, I know that student loan is in forbearance federally all across the board right now. If you have a federal student loan, it has been in forbearance due to COVID-19, and that ends at the end of May. So if you're already struggling with loans, consider talking with them now about putting your loans in forbearance when that comes back, or getting on an income-driven repayment plan. We do that so that our payment is as low as possible. Yes, eventually we will pay off those loans, but because the payment is so low and the balance is so high, we need to do a few other things first, like raise our income so that we have more money to chuck at those loans. We can't, if we did, if we took the capital we were gaining from our jobs right now and just threw it at our loans, we'd take years and years to pay them off. So we're taking a sort of different approach in that we are making sure our payment is as low as possible, investing that money in ourselves because we're not in survival mode. We're actually a little bit further ahead of that at this point, to where we're starting to build wealth and wanting to build business and wanting to, increase the amount of capital that we have available to us every single week. And by capital, I just mean the money that's coming into our accounts, right? So we want to raise that income so that when it comes time, we can chuck a large amount of cash at those student loans. And in the meantime, we just want our payment to be as low as humanly possible. Another thing you can do is consider switching jobs or careers. Right now is a prime time to scope out the job market. You may get a higher salary. You may, be able to get in a position you wouldn't normally be able to get in. But at a time like this, because lots of people are looking for workers, it is a good time to scope those kinds of things out. It may be a good time to start your own business, so eventually you can quit the job you have, or just to supplement the income that you have from your current job. Those are all things to consider. Overall, I think you really have to evaluate what's most important to you. And while I'm not a huge fan of cutting out expenses as your sole way of making ends meet, at some point you might want to take a look at those, because there are sometimes expenses that you're not utilizing that are bringing no value to you, and you're just automatically paying them out without considering it. So for instance, if I was to have a gym membership that I wasn't going to, and that's bringing me no value, I'm just paying it out. Well, go cancel your gym membership and stop paying out that money so that you can pay other things with that income. I'm not talking about the things that bring value to your life, your housing, obviously, your mortgage. You're not getting rid of that. You don't want to get rid of your car payment. In my opinion, you could downsize cars. Of course, I know lots of people have lots of differing strong opinions on stuff like this, but I think it's a very personal decision. It depends on what kind of value this car brings to you, and if you're willing to pay the price for that value, if the cost is low enough for that value. Now, if you're drowning, it might be something that you consider, but it's such a personal decision. I could not possibly tell you that in every situation it is right to downsize your car, because in our case it wouldn't be. We have 3 kids. We have 2 in car seats. It wouldn't be right for us to downsize our car at this moment. We love our van as well. So, if we got to something that brought us less value, why would we do that? As long as we're willing to pay the price for that value that it brings to us. All right, let's see. For your other bills, even if you can't cut them out, maybe you can negotiate a lower price. If you haven't been in contact with, your internet provider in a while, maybe call them up and say, hey, is there anything we can do to cut bills? Things are tight right now, and they might be able to help you with that. Just be nice. Those people get yelled at all day long. Be nice. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just roll with the punches. But if you've got a few extra minutes, that's a good way to spend them and possibly save yourself some cash flow over the next year or two. This one might be a little more controversial, but if you are struggling to make your bills, stop investing. And that includes your 401k. And like I said, that might be controversial, but I absolutely see no logic in putting cash flow into something that may bring you value when you're 65, when you have things that need attending to right now. It's sort of like putting your financial house in order. You can't build the roof before you build the foundation and the walls, right? You have to consider all things. And if you are putting money into your 401k, yeah, that's great that you're planning for retirement. It's great that your company matches that. And it's great that that's sort of like free money, but it's free money that you can't access right now without penalty. So it's par for the course. I'm sure that's not for everybody. 401ks give some people a great sense of security that's worth the cost to them. But if you're struggling, you might consider that it is not worth putting your cash flow into something that's not paying you back right now. There are lots of different ways to save for retirement. And did you even know that 401ks were not initially intended and were never intended to be the sole source of retirement income? They were supposed to be supplemental. So you do a lot better to take that cash flow to increase your income, or increase the businesses that you build, or whatever it is that you're investing in, and use that cash flow to better your financial situation now, so that you can be more productive, so that you can increase your income, and ultimately you can fund your own retirement at that point. And if you're here, you're interested in building wealth, and that might be something that appeals to you like it was to me for a long time, because I stopped our 401k investments a long time ago when we were doing Dave Ramsey. And his recommendation was that you stop it while you're paying off debt temporarily. And then once you're done paying off debt, you restart it. Well, I just never restarted ours because, one, we still have massive amounts of student loan debt, even though right now we're not working to pay that off. But now, and more recently, I've even discovered that that's not really my forte. I don't know what's going on inside my 401k. I don't know if I'm going to, win the lottery and the markets are going to go up right as I retire and that I really get, a great income off of that. I don't know if things are going to just smash to the ground in that time. And I don't like that uneasy feeling. I'd rather have my money in something that I can control better. And business is one of those things that we're using that cash to invest in right now. Lastly, for prioritizing cash flow, if your company gives you company stock and you are struggling right now, maybe it's time to consider selling that stock. It's really a personal decision for you, but there are, and obviously consult a tax professional, but there are some situations where those could be considered not taxable income. So think it over. If you're struggling, that might be one way to go that you haven't considered yet. I know that I had some company stock and did the same thing at the end of last year because there was some things we needed to do with that money, and it turned out mine was tax-free. So first things first, get educated. Second thing is prioritize cash flow. And third, invest. So this is not for the people who are in survival mode. If you are in survival mode, there was a lot of suggestions in that last section to help you out. But once you are comfortable and you're not in survival mode, even with this high inflation, even though prices are still increasing, if you've still got a little extra expendable income, this might be for you, because if your money is going straight into a bank account and just sitting there, it's losing value. What does inflation mean? It means that the money supply has been inflated. There's more money out there now, so every dollar has less value. If it used to cost $1 to buy a can of soup, and you had $1 in your savings account, well, you could buy a can of soup. Well, if you had $1 in your savings account today, it's not going to buy you a can of soup anymore, because cans of soup are $3 now. And that's what inflation does. So in order to mitigate that risk, in order to keep your money from losing value, you invest it in things. I specifically would invest mine in things that cash flow, like real estate. If I had the money to do that right now, I don't have the money to do that right now. Right now, I'm starting off slow. I'm starting off small with very small amounts of cash. I've just gotten in peer-to-peer lending, and that has been something that has been awesome for me over the past month. I plan to do a review on it eventually, but peer-to-peer lending has been awesome for me this far. And I've learned a lot about investing, and it's really exciting when you start to see your money make money for you. It is really a different experience to anything that I have ever had in my life before, because I've always worked for my income. I've never ever invested money in this way. I've invested before in a 401k, and I didn't feel like I was making any money except for the money that I was putting in there. But this is a different kind of excitement, because you can see how fast your money goes up when you invest. And if you invest in something that cash flows for you, well, then that's double duty, because, for instance, real estate. Not only does the housing market increase, the worth of the house, so you get more value that way, but you are getting an influx of cash every single month. So consider that when you're investing. If you want to start off small and you like the stock market, I don't have time to go through the stock market and actually do it the way it needs to be done. I like to be in control. I like to know what's going on, and I don't have the time to do that for every company I would like to invest in, or every hedge fund maybe, or ETF, or what's it called? Mutual fund that I would invest in. I don't have the time for that. So, but if that's your DNA, if you like that kind of thing, if you just want to set it and forget it, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just know you might not get as great of a return, or you might not get any return. But I have a small Acorns account, and it's an experiment that I'm doing, and I put in $5 every single week, and I just am watching what happens with it. And I've been doing that for a while now. I should probably give you guys an update on that, but that is one example. Acorns, or an app or similar service to that could help you if the stock market is your thing. I think it's really important, one, not to invest any money that you're not willing to lose, and two, to know your strategy. Know what it is that you want to accomplish. Is it that you want to invest, but you don't want to think about it? You want that set it and forget it quality? Cool. Maybe get you into something that does that. If you want a little more control like me and you want a few more active investments, cool. Figure out what those are, even on a very small scale, like I'm doing. And if you have, if you have extra time and you want to, put your sweat equity into something like a fixer upper, that's another way to invest. You can make a lot of money doing that. Personally, I don't really want to do that kind of thing. I'm not into flipping houses. I'm not into doing home projects all myself. I'd rather manage, because I'm good at that. I'd rather manage and coordinate home repairs and have somebody else do the actual work, because I'm not good at that kind of thing. I could be good. I could learn. But I don't want to spend the time to learn those specific sets of skills when I could just leverage what I'm already good at and then pay somebody what they're worth to do the rest and do it better than I could. So that's what my talk is about today. That's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Help out my channel. Thank you so much for doing that, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.